Hello, my name is Sean Steinbrück, and today I will be talking about Russian mass media. Have you ever wondered what media is like outside of your country? Well, everyone interacts with media in numerous ways. This can be the newspaper you read in the bathroom in the morning, or the phone you check at work, or the political ads you see on TV. Today, I will be discussing Russian mass media using film to show freedom of speech, radio to represent social problems, and social media to convey information, and I will show the true importance of social media in Russia. I will also be relating this back to the United States. I am very credible on this topic because of research that I have done through my Kirkwood class, and I have been specifically looking at Russian mass media for the past few weeks. Now that I have introduced you to the topic, let's start with film. In Russian TV series in the era of transition, genres, technologies, and identities, Valentin Varenkov, a general in Russia, said, "All this stuff they throw into the minds of our citizens, it's worse than international terrorism." He was responded to the question about who controls television. And him responding like this shows that there's not a lot of freedom of speech in Russia. There are a lot of restrictions on freedom of press, which causes less freedom of speech. There is also an attempt to nationalize products, which I have found in contemporary Russian cinema reader. They say that there is a widespread effect of nationalizing products in Russia, especially in the film industry. I've seen this happen in America in numerous movies, but I use Rocky IV as an example, which makes you patriotic after an American gets beat down time after time, but he still shows effort to get back up, and then he holds the flag up to end the movie. This was during the Cold War, and it was a long war, so it promoted spirit in a lot of Americans, seeing that there would eventually be triumph. In the article, 6 Months in the Ukraine War, Russia's Film Industry on Life Support, billionaire entrepreneur Tinklov announced 90% of Russians were against the war and said that Russia had a shit army. A Putin-followed bank immediately said they would become nationalized if he stays, and they forced him to leave. This shows that you can't even protest in Russia without your belongings being taken from you, and this could be caused because of the film that was sent out of him saying this. Now, let's move on to radios helping and creating social problems. In War of Songs, Popular Music, and Recent Russia-Ukraine Relations, Helenovich, a musician, said, "Music is huge to help social problems and bring importance to them." There are a lot of social problems in Russia, and one of them right now is the Ukraine war, where 9,806 people have been killed and 17,962 have been injured as of October 2023, with a lot of them being children. And more than 10,000 people from Russia, or from Ukraine, have gone missing from this war, and they have been in Russian custody as prisoners of war. There's 2.3 million people unemployed in Russia of September 2023, as well as 16 million in poverty, according to Statista. In Comparative Humanities, Review Radio as a Tool of the State, Radio Moscow, and the early Cold War, the Kremlin uses radio to skew the common people of Russia to spread Soviet opinion and counteract capitalism. They use this to persuade the people to thinking that communism was such a great thing so they could have more power and have more of a dictatorship so they could rule over people, which created these social problems, which are now being recognized by radio. The United States relates to this when politicians say they will do stuff when they get in office, but then they don't. Such as George Bush saying that there will be no new taxes, but as soon as he gets in office, his first move was to raise taxes. In disinformation and Russia's war aggression against Ukraine, Russian disinformation significantly increased as of February 2022, when the war started. They used radio as a political advantage at the time to skew people into joining the chaos and thinking that it was a good thing to fight this war. Now that you've seen the freedom of speech through film and social problems in radio, let's move to the importance and content that is spread on social media. To start, there's a huge difference when comparing revenue. Russia has 5.4 billion and the US is over 246 billion. This is a big number comparing both of the countries. In Russian social media influence, understanding Russian propaganda in Eastern Europe, it showed kind of what they spent their money on. Because in 2014, they spent 1.1 billion US dollars on recalling Soviet measures by spreading propaganda. This shows the importance of social media to Russian government and companies because they can spread fake news through it. There is fake news in America, but nothing close to this. In media and power in post-Soviet Russia, the Moshkov Library is the #1 site in Russia. Literature is pretty big, and it shows with more than 1 million people viewing it each month. And this was very important to Russians because they could watch national news without having to know multiple languages. Today we learned about Russian media through freedom of speech and film, social help and social problems caused by radio, and the importance of social media, all relating back to the country we live in, the United States of America. As you continue to look at media, whether it's any kind, you can be grateful for what you have because you can create and consume without a lot of less barriers that there is. And you can relate to others now that are in other countries. Media plays a huge role in our lives, no matter which way you're using it. Whether it's through phone, paper, TV, or etc., you are still consuming media, likewise to many others all around the world. Thank you for listening.